Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today we're going to be talking about OCGN. In this video, we're going to talk about due diligence technical analysis and what we can anticipate in the next few weeks or so. Now, I did make a video about this around 2 months ago. If you would like to watch it, it's in the description below. But in terms of the latest news, we don't have anything since July 6th that was really important for us to address. But we do have some due diligence in terms of presentations that were new and in terms of insiders and a lot of different things that we're talking about. Now, in the last month or so, specifically prior to September 23rd, all we see is mainly either granting of either warrants or shares or just them presenting at different conferences. Now, we do have a presentation here that was labeled at October 2021, and there's three main things that this one focuses in. Vaccine development, specifically the COVID-19 vaccine candidate that is currently being reviewed by Health Canada and the US, and discussion with the US FDA ongoing, as it mentions. And they also modify gene therapy, which is designed to cure multiple rare and broad diseases with one product. Clinical trials are anticipated to commence phase launch starting in Q4 2021 and into 2022, and the novel biological treatment targeting diabetic, macular edema and diabetics, retinopathy, and wet age-related macular degeneration. Now, for this here, you're able to see in terms of the Covaxin, which has, by the way, the Bharat Biotech partner. We talked about that before. So the indication here is COVID-19 vaccine is its rolling submission with Health Canada completed back in July of 2021 under phase 3 currently. And the modifier gene therapy, this goes under different mutations, specifically towards retinal degeneration and dry age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, and there's also novel biological parts to this, mainly diabetes and wet age-related macular degeneration. And a bunch of these are actually preclinical or IND enabling. And in terms of this Covaxin itself, so the target population of this one here is 18 of age or older. And the proposed indication is to prevent the COVID-19 caused by SARS-CoV-2. So it's basically as a vaccine. The expected shelf life is around 2 years, between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius, or 3 months under room temperature, and it's 10 doses per vial. Now, the big thing about this one is the question, do we actually still need the Covaxin vaccine? Well, in terms of this one here, there has been some talks from the company itself on how it's still actually significant against Delta in terms of the protection and its efficiency. But again, currently you're seeing like Canada has more than 85% vaccinated around 12 and above anyway. And in the US, that number is stagnant, but it's not because of a vaccine kind of lackness, but more of a vaccine hesitancy issue. Now, Covaxin does fill some of these hesitancies, but at this point, it's a political thing. Even if you get just a normal vaccine and not an mRNA, like Johnson & Johnson, or even this one here, which is a little bit of different technology, I don't think that will be the silver bullet that will solve it up. Anyway, so for this one here, it works under a broad spectrum response. So it works a little bit different than Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. And for this one here, you're able to see some of the efficiencies itself under 95% confidence interval. And in terms of the numbers here, they do show good efficacy based on ages between 18 and 59. Now, in terms of the data itself, it suggests the Th1 medicated response boosted by novel adjacents. This is for the role of Covaxin. And 90% of infections by variants is shown here. You're able to see that there's Delta was actually around 59%. 5% was Alpha, and you got Kappa of being around 13, other around 16, and 7% with genome was not retrieved. And we're able to see that the efficacy for Delta is around 65.2%. Meanwhile, Kappa is around 90.1, and others was around 73.0. There's not enough information, I believe, for Alpha or just any other ones that might be still as significant. That's because the total number of cases are 4 over 16,973, so that might be a little bit of the difficulty there. Now, in terms of overall data, we're able to see how it's actually still showing significant results. And one of the biggest things that we're taking a look at is the clinical and regulatory strategy for OCU400. After COVID vaccine, Covaxin thing goes on, what happens next? You're able to see that this one has a long way to go, up to even 2026 or 2027, until it potentially hits the market. And so that's one of the reasons why this one trades and really horrible fundamentals of sales. Around price over sale is around 40,500. The SP500 average is around 4 to 5 towards that. And if we were to take a look into the price over book, it's around 3 times more overpriced than the SP500 average. Similarly here on E-Trade, it's around 17.15. We'll discuss the short interest in a second here, but we're able to see that this company itself has different basically pipeline products, and the timeline for this to go through is still quite significant as well. And in terms of the next things that are going on for Covaxin, so they published a phase 3 clinical trial suggesting demonstration of efficacy against COVID-19 and variants of concern and interest. They also have a rolling submission to Health Canada, which is completed. Bharat Biotech's submission to the World Health Organization is currently under review, and a discussion of FDA is ongoing. Now, the manufacturing partner is selected. The tech transfer from Bharat Biotech is in progress, and they're targeting 100 million doses per year. Now, the biggest thing about this one is if it does get accepted by World Health Organization, which I do anticipate it would, one of the reasons is the major countries in the world, the leading countries in the world, usually take a look into World Health Organization when it comes towards vaccinated travel, and that could still play a role. But when it comes towards actual profitability, the World Health Organization might not really impact Covaxin's profits, because the Covaxin is actually developed by Bharat Biotech. In North America, Covaxin is being introduced by OCGN, and they're taking a cut at it. I believe it was a 50% cut, if I do recall correctly. It's in 2 or 3 videos ago. Now, speaking of which, for the videos, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to click the subscribe button on the bottom right corner and leave notifications on for this channel. Don't forget also to drop a like, and if you would like, you can join our Discord totally free in the description below. Now, another thing to discuss is institutional shares, and institutional holders hold around 34% of the entire company. And we're able to see that there is quite a good amount of activity when it comes towards institutional buyers. Insiders only own around 3.11%. And there has been some selling recently, but that's after they exercise some of these shares. So it's a part of how they're being paid in general. In terms of the short interest ratio, there's 1.04 days to cover left. The dark pool short volume is around 14.2 million on the last trading day. And the dark pool volume ratio for shorts is around 55.20. Now, currently, there's a very, very, very low short borrow fee rate of an annual one of around 2.64%. So that's a very, very small amount per day. And in terms of the short volumes itself, we're able to see it's sitting very close to around 50%. Now, in terms of the short interest, which is different, these are the percent of float that is owned or sold by the short sellers. It's around 27.4. This is in agreement with Finviz as well. And on the other part on why it really dropped significantly on the last trading day, this is something you're able to see even with Moderna, where you see this massive red candle coming in. It's just that there was some good momentum prior to this drop that shook a lot of people in this market. We're going to talk about technical analysis and discuss a little bit further onto this. Now, from a technical analysis perspective, we're seeing a bunch of interesting things. First off, on the average directional index, it shows that this is actually a very strong move at 36.32, a very bullish one, and this is just a pullback. Now, the moving averages are all bullish, where the 10 SMA is above the 30 MA and the 50 SMA is above the 200 SMA, as you get to see here. And this was kind of a reversal from the 13th of October, where all that was opposite. The William % R shows that it's currently exactly on the neutral. It's neither overbought or oversold. This is similar to the relative strength index, and the MACD is showing a second smaller histogram than the one before. This is suggesting that this one is retracting back, not really gone towards a negative reversal, but on the way, and it will be testing a negative reversal next week. Momentums are dropping from the 184, and that is a critical point that we need to consider on whether it's going negative or not. At the current point, it's still on the highest it's been in a while, so that on its own is good news. Now, in terms of the stochastic fast and stochastic slow, both are actually dipping downwards, looking downwards. That's a dangerous thing on its own. In terms of the moving average bands, we're able to see that this one is expected to trade between 840 and 688, and currently it's above there. The Bollinger Bands are between 942 and 586. Currently it's back within the Bollinger Bands, so we can anticipate perhaps it would trade between 942 and 840 for early on next week. In terms of volumes have spiked a little, not as massive as they once were, but still significant enough. In terms of the Fibonacci retracements, we're able to see significant resistance levels at the 952, 1170, and 1482. Supports are at 733 and 462. Now, in terms of just price line actions, we're able to see some key supports and resistances. Currently, 865 is a very strong support. If that breaks down, there's 831. If that does break down, 778. We're going down to a little bit further to 725, and then down to 643, and then down to 587, and then 525 and 382. Resistances, however, we see a few of them. The first resistance that I would say is at 882, above there around 938, and sharp $10 above there around 1065, 1104 going upwards to 1264, 1388, and around 1590. Comes to the question to Ed, what do you think is going to happen soon? Now, in this one, I do think that it was propagating between two kind of lines horizontally, and this one really broke through. And with the massive drop on Friday for vaccine stocks, this one really broke into the momentum. It was horrible timing and went on a pullback. These were mainly people who probably bought around the $7, saw it at 10, saw it drop to around 950 and start selling like crazy, panic selling. Now, other parts is these resistances are very hard for people who bought around these three candles, woke up the next day or a few days and saw it trading almost at $7. And then breaking even, they just sold. So it's still shaking. Every push upwards is still a good test for resistance. In terms of Covaxin being a massive product in the US, it's a possibility, and never kind of omit that out of the equation. But I do think it's unlikely that that should be the leading part of it. But if it does get its approval, and I do think it would get the approval for at least for the World Health Organization from Bharat Biotech, I do think that would be possible. What do you think about this sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day. Now, if you're still here on this video, make sure to drop down below and join our Discord. We have a lot of different things going on, including, for instance, members that gives picks for free. It's not pump and dumps, we just things we think about, swings, etc. We also have really exciting bots. You can actually use those ones. For instance, we're just testing out this bot, for instance, that gives you Fibonacci resistance points, activities, etc. And we have a bunch of free things, totally free. We run on tips here, and you can ask me questions, suggest stocks, etc. It's a really nice community that has been growing up very fast at a very good rate, and it's totally free. If you would like to join that one, feel free to do so in the description below, and have a wonderful day.